Welcome back, guys. Coach Berek here, Equity Podcast. Our goal is to help you invest in yourself. Sleep, quality sleep. There are a couple things that we can do to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success when we're getting to get quality sleep. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And quality sleep is going to help us feel energized in the morning. It's going to help us make it through the day feeling like we have that energy. It's going to help um, uh, it's going to help us recover both mentally and physically. And just sleep it's one of the five um, you know um, things that we can control, right? We have our what we eat, uh, our sleep, our moving, our connection with others, and our mindset. Like those five things we can control for our health and fitness, the five factors of health and fitness. And sleep is that big category. Recovery in general, but sleep is the big part of that. And we want to make sure that we're getting that in. So, we're going to talk about some things we can do throughout our day to make sure that we're getting that quality of sleep that we want. And funny enough, if I am working on trying to get better sleep today, later today, it's going to start in the morning of that day. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we want to get sunlight in our eyes. And this has to be like actual sunlight, like regular, like bright lights inside. That's not going to work. It's just not bright enough. We need to be actually inside, and actually even glass isn't. It's going to block some of the photons, and we actually need to be outside, looking relatively towards the sun. We're not looking at the sun, but we want to look towards it, so we're getting that in our eyes. The funny thing is how I've been doing this lately is we take L to the bus stop, and whenever we're walking there, I make sure that we're actually walking towards the sun, but when we're standing there waiting for the bus, I always face towards the sun to try and get as much as I can. So that's how I'm doing that in the mornings. And when I miss her on the bus stop, I try to make sure to get out and do something outside. Maybe just go for a walk, maybe take my coffee outside and just walk around the yard for a little bit, checking out, whatever. Just trying to get some sunlight on me. And we'll kind of get back to that as well in a little bit because the sunlight's going to come back up. The next one is cold exposure. This is one that I'm not really doing. Cold exposure can just be getting cold outside. It can be, which we'll go with our next one. It can be cold plunges. It can be cold showers. Any of those type of things. And when we do that cold thing, one, it's a mental thing. Hey, you're the type of person that does this type of thing, but also the cold exposure, it's going to raise your body temperature and get you ready for the day. It's going to spike that adrenaline as well. It's going to force you to start working on your breathing patterns. So there's a lot of good research around why cold exposure is good. To be perfectly honest, this is one that I've not really played with. I've played with it a little bit. But then I figured out when I was doing it was not ideal. I was doing it before bed. So I don't do that anymore. During the summers, every once in a while, I'll take a cold shower so that I'm not just really hot before I go to bed. But we'll get into that a little bit, which my thinking on that was wrong. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So getting some cold exposure if you can. If you're a person that showers in the morning, that's a great opportunity to do that. So those are kind of like the morning things. And now we have like during the day type things. And that is, the first one is to limit caffeine before 2 p.m., but ideally before noon. So it doesn't matter if it's coffee or tea or soda. I mean, you shouldn't be drinking soda anyway, but any type of caffeine, we're trying to keep that before noon. I did a post a few weeks ago about sleeping with caffeine and alcohol and how it affects you. And even if you can sleep after drinking a cup of coffee or after consuming caffeine, the quality of your sleep probably isn't very good. So we want to make sure that we're taking that out. Make sure that we're trying to do as little caffeine as possible. Now, during specific times, I might do caffeine later. Like if I'm doing the open or if I have a competition, I might take that caffeine. But that's something um, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of sleep quality on that day because it's a competition type thing. So it's something to consider if we're looking for overall quality sleep. You know, during the week, we're trying to pull that caffeine back as much as we can. The next one is getting sunlight on your skin throughout the day. So you can actually kind of do this with the morning sunlight one. Um, you know, going outside, and even with the cold exposure right now during winter, like I would go outside to try and get some sunlight in my face, and I would start with like a zip up, start with a jacket on, and I'd have my hot cup of coffee, and I would take that off and just have the t-shirt on to get a little bit of sun exposure. You know, some people just walk around with no shirt. I'm not quite ready to be the weird guy yet. I mean, I am the weird guy, but I'm not quite ready to be that weird of a guy. And I think just getting it on my arms, and I take a vitamin D supplement. I think we're doing okay with that. Can I do better? Probably. Getting another walk throughout the day would probably be good. And getting sunlight on your skin is going to be really, really beneficial. We want to get that vitamin D, and the light exposure to your eyes and to your skin. It helps your body know your circadian rhythm. Hey, I'm supposed to be up right now, and then it's going to know, hey, that you got the light then, so later tonight it's like, oh, okay, now it's nighttime and it's time to start cooling down. So those are the two ones to do during the day. um, the next one, we're gonna now the rest are kind of like evening, and then we'll kind of get into routine type stuff. The next one for the evening is trying to limit your screen time. You know, this is probably the one that you hear the most, but that blue light is not great. It's gonna mess up your rhythm. So when light in the morning, artificial light, blue light, it isn't strong enough to get what we want in the morning, but it is strong enough at night to mess up our sleeping habits. So it can't help us in the morning, but it can hurt us at night. So we want to try and limit that as much as possible. Excuse me. The next one is related to light, and yes, we want to limit the blue screen light, but we also want to limit overhead lights, lights that are directly overhead. And the reason is they're over our head, so that makes it like it's the sun. So, the sun is still high in the sky, and our body's it's gonna mess up our rhythm. What we want are lower lights, like lamps. And the thing about lamps is generally they tend to be warmer lamps, like yellows, oranges, and red type lamps, or type colors, and they're also lower. So that's kind of mimicking that dusk, right? When the sun is low in the sky and it's coming through more atmosphere, so it looks reddish and orange and yellow, that kind of dark yellow. I kind of have a lamp on over here. You can kind of see it looks a little yellowish over on this side, right? So those type of lamps in the evening are really good. The overhead lights, especially if they're white, really bright, they're not going to be beneficial. We want to try and get the low level light. And one of the, we'll get to that. So that's trying to limit that light as much as possible in the evening, and get that low level light is a really good way to set up. The next is like your actual nightly routine, like right before it. We want to have a nightly routine. And what this does, it doesn't matter what it is, but it helps us, it starts telling your body to start calming down, right? Think about when we do the opposite, when we're warming up for a workout. We start with some very general stuff. We start doing some light moving, some stretching, and then we do some specific stuff with just a barbell, and then we start loading, and then we're ready to go. We start going faster, and that adrenaline, your mindset starts changing. Excuse me. Your mindset starts changing. Your body starts getting prepped for that increased level of exercise right before. So it's the same thing, but we want to go in reverse. We want to start calming ourselves down and have that routine. So when we start it, our body's like, oh, okay, it's time to sleep. So when we lay our head down, we're out. So for me, we put Elle down for bed, and we usually read, and I'll lay with her for a little bit. So that's already going to start getting me calmed down a little bit. Then the order isn't always exactly the same. It kind of depends on how the evening goes. Then I'll take a shower, and we'll get a little bit into that next. And then I'll do a little bit of writing, and then I'll read, and then maybe not as soon as my head touches the ground, but I'm out pretty quickly. It's just slowly building that up, building that routine to my head hitting the ground. The next one is a warm bath and shower. So I want to talk, this is part of the nightly routine. It's part of mine. And I also get the light thing in this one as well. So what I find is let's talk about the warm bath first, warm shower. What we want is, think about how you feel when you're in a warm bath, warm shower. It's kind of relaxing. It lets you calm down. And that's what we're looking for, that calming effect. But then also, a warm bath is actually going to bring your body temperature down. It's like a thermostat. When you have hot outside, what is your body going to do? It's going to try and bring it down, bring the temperature down. So that's why we like warm stuff in the morning, or in the evenings, and then cold in the morning, because now when we hit that cold exposure, we're going to send our body temperature up, and that's going to make us more alert. Kind of counterintuitive, and there's a lot of sciencey stuff based on that, and I'll have some stuff for you at the end of this. Warm bath, calming, just trying to relax, and then what I find a lot of times is the bathroom generally has overhead lights, or lights that are above your head, and they're really, really bright, like really bright. And that's because, if people are using the mirror trying to get ready, you want to be able to see what you're doing. But that's not what we want before bed. So what we're going to do, what I started doing, is I want to get a lamp. I'm going to get like an electronic lamp, kind of like a night light, almost like a kid's night light. It can dim, it can get brighter. I want to get something like that, because I don't want a regular lamp that has like a shade on it, because all the moisture in there. But I want to get a lamp in there, but I don't have that right now. So what I've been doing is I've actually been using candles. So I'll light the candles, turn off the light, and then take a nice warm shower, and it's really calming. It's really relaxing. I love it, and I like shower thoughts or serious things, especially for me. I get a lot of thinking done in the shower. It's a good time. And then the last one, I kind of mentioned it during the nightly routine, is just do calming and relaxing things, right? If we're working, if we're looking at screens, if we're doing things that make us anxious, right? If we're watching a crazy suspenseful thing, we're going to be anxious. We're watching horror movies or something. It's not relaxing, right? You're getting all amped up. So we want to be doing things that are relaxing and calming. I actually like to color with Elle at night. That's really calming and pretty relaxing as well. The writing, the reading are really calming for me as well. And when you have that setting, when you're doing those type of things with that type of light, that low level light, it's just all very relaxing. We start getting that quality sleep much better. So if you want to get a little bit more in depth in this and kind of learn like the science behind it, I would highly recommend Andrew Huberman. He has a podcast called the Huberman Podcast, and he has 2 episodes. One might be a blog post and one's an actual podcast where he talks about all this stuff. And I have links below so you can check those out. One's called the Toolkit for Sleep, and then the other one's called the Sleep Toolkit, tools for optimizing sleep and sleep-wake timing. So I would definitely highly recommend checking those out. I hope this helps, and we want to get that quality sleep so we can do the things we want to do in our life, and getting quality sleep is going to help us do that. I really hope this helped you guys out, and thank you. Cheers.